So how do you love yourself? This is a topic that I think we need to really pull apart a little bit. Because when we think of love, what do you think of? You're going to love the world, somebody. What do you think of? Energy. Attention. Happiness. What? Flowers. What did you say, ma'am?
Everything.
Everything, yes. You think of love as everything. You think of relationship. When you love something, you're in relationship with it. You have a relationship. So when we think of loving ourselves, you think, well, how can I have a relationship with myself? Well, you do. Every minute of every day, you have a relationship with yourself. You may not be fully aware of it, but I would say that most of the people here in this room are aware of that. They have an observer that they have developed in themselves through meditation, through self-reflection, through life crises, which life crises always tend to focus oneself back on the self, especially marriage breakups, a death, an illness. These things will refocus you, right? Anyone experience that? I can see all these heads nodding, yes, yes. So when you love yourself, I want to talk a little bit tonight about our alignment with ourselves and alignment with our spirits. We have a vertical axis of ourselves and a horizontal one. And right here is the heart. Okay? So this vertical and horizontal axis are really important when we talk about loving ourselves, because what we're really talking about is our vertical alignment. Our horizontal alignment extends to people that we love, because our arms are naturally from our hearts. They are naturally attached to our hearts, so that when we embrace somebody, we are connecting them with our hearts, okay? Their heart and our hearts. However, your vertical alignment is when you are in complete relationship with your energy, your divine energy, your light force, which flows through you all the time. And it connects with the earth, and there's earth flow that comes up from the bottom, okay, from your feet, from your root chakra, and the two again meet in the heart. So if we are aligned with ourselves in our vertical alignment, we have the opportunity to develop more of the observer. We have the opportunity to develop a relationship with ourselves so that we can witness ourselves, so we can reflect on our behavior, so we can love the parts of ourselves that are afraid. When I first started using the Heart Path process, which is outlined in this book, it was about 20 years ago. And I had just come through a divorce, and I'd moved out to California. And I thought, okay, I'm going to start a massage practice. I went back to school. I got a master's degree in spirituality and psychology. I was going to live in California. This is where I felt like I was at home. And having grown up in the Midwest and spent all my time there until my early 30s, it was a new journey. I had thought I had dropped all the baggage I could possibly drop, and it was time for me now to reassess and to establish myself. So I started doing a lot of meditation. I started looking more deeply into myself. I got a guru. How many of you had a guru? So I did all the things that people come to California for. And what I learned in that process was that I did not know myself at all. Here I thought I had, gotten out of this relationship. I was starting my journey. I was going back to school. I'd done all these things, and I was just beginning. So I met a woman, her name's Sally Adderton. She became a good friend, and she did channeling. And I thought, no channeling for me. No, 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 no. I can admit that I'm psychic, and I can do massage, and those are the things I'm really good at. So I'm going to do those two things. And I started a practice and worked at the Claremont Spa and all these places, Nob Hill Club, and started a practice after a couple of years, went out on my own. And then I began to recognize, as I did massage, that there was this energy coming through me more and more fully as I was doing the work. And then as I started working with Sally, she would channel my guide, okay, Wu Lan, so he could talk to me, because I wasn't listening to him. I was like, no, I'm just going to let this energy flow, and it's Reiki. You know, I did Reiki, and I did all that. So finally, he came through her, and he said, you know, you need to start listening to me, because I'm here to guide you, and you have a lot of work to do on this planet. And so the more I engaged him, and the more I had conversations with him, and she and I would trade sessions, because massage therapists have a great ability to do that with other healers, as some of you might know. We can trade sessions with each other, and we could get a lot of work accomplished in a very short time, because we're doing healing work on other people, and so we need to be in touch with ourselves. Okay, that's very, very important, as many of you probably know. So I started listening to Sally, channel Wu Lan, and pretty soon he started doing this process with me through her. And then I got in touch with him enough so I could do it with him by myself, and I didn't, Sally moved away, and I could do it myself. So I worked with this process, which he called the Heart Garden, and it was a self-reflective tool that gave me an opportunity to observe the energy flowing through me from my higher self, from my divine self. And it helped me to witness the scared and fearful parts of myself that I hadn't really seen before. I didn't realize how scared I really was. Now, at the same time, I was going to an ashram with Da Frijan, Da Abhuta, crazy wisdom master. I totally did not connect with the community, but I did connect with him very, very deeply. I sat with him a number of times. And one of the things that he said that really offended me, so I knew it had to be true, because it really pissed me off, was that everybody is either fear-based, anger-based, or fear and anger-based. And I was like, that's not true. Wait a minute, what about love? You know, I'm love-based, right? No, I was really fear-based, and I was really entrenched in my fears and my angers, so deeply that I couldn't see them. They were there, but I couldn't see them. So what I started to do is I started to look at them one by one. And I also started writing my first book, Dancing Up the Moon. And in the process of writing, it flushed up all of these critics, because you can't write without having the editor come out and, you know, that's not right. You can't do this. You can't do that. And I ended up identifying 6 different voices in my head that were critics that I'd had growing up. My dad, my teacher from 2nd grade, my sister, because I have 4 of them. And so that was really a revelation. Wow, I have all these critics. So I named them other energies, not dad. And I named them the way they felt. So one came up over the top of my head like this and was like, "Arr!" So he was like, I can't remember the name I had for him, but it was like a woolly head or something. And so I would name them names that would kind of diffuse their capabilities a little bit. And I drew pictures of them. And the one that I'm thinking of right now, I think I need to draw the picture. He looked like this. Does he look familiar? He had this, came up like that. And everything I did was wrong. Everything I did. So I said, okay, I'm drawing your pictures and I'm putting you out in front of me so I can shut you up. And then I can write. And when I'm ready to edit, then you can come in and you can give me some criticism. But until then, you're not allowed to talk. And that means you and you and you and you and you and you. And I shut them up, and I was able to write. It was a great relief. I thought, oh, here's the flow. Now I can be in the flow. And I worked through 8 years like that of writing this book, having them be quieted. And about 4 years into that process, I realized that I wasn't listening to them anymore. I was listening to this flow. And I was using them in a more controlled way, and they were part of my mind, and so I could control them now. And so I burned their pictures and released them and integrated them in a loving way, because what they were really trying to do was get me to see how good I was and how I could love myself. Even the critics in our heads are really here trying to love us. They just do it backwards. They do it with a lot of anger or a lot of fear, because they're afraid we're not going to somehow reach our potential. Especially if you've come in to sign up for that one, reach your potential. They're the ones that are keeping you on track, right? Except that they're not helping if they're harming. So we can stop them and allow them to stop and reassess for what's true for us, what we need for ourselves. So in this process of writing my first book, I flushed out a whole lot of criticism. I was able to readdress it. And the way I did it was using Heart Path. I would bring these entities or energies to the outside of the garden, and I would send love to them. Now, my teacher, Wu Lan, the spirit teacher that I had and still have, he's Tibetan. And he told me over the years, and a lot of the stories in Heart Path, that he and I had had a life together 800 years ago. And in that lifetime, I was an itinerant healer and had come to his home at his request to help his family. Turns out that my friend Sally was married to Wu Lan in that lifetime. And so she brought him to me like he had brought me to her. And I worked with their family for over a year and helped a lot of healing and did a service for them, and then I would go on my way to someone else would call me. And in those days, that's the way shamans worked. That's the way healers worked. They would go actually move in with the people, figure out what's going on in the family dynamics, and then they would take each one aside and address the issues. And that's how they helped people heal. So that was quite a revelation to me. I didn't know that I had been that, and the more I felt into it, the more true it felt. And then he and I continued to develop a relationship. I started to channel him after I went to Brazil and realized I had that ability. I joined Umbanda and learned about Umbanda. And Umbanda is a spiritual teaching and a way to do healing work in Brazil. Got very connected to Brazil and very connected to the healing processes there. And I learned how to channel. After 2 years, I was told, you're done with that. You need to start your own center. And so I started the Center for the Soul in 2001. And since that time, I've channeled classes and I've done all kinds of things. And this process has been at the core of all the teaching work that I've done. So it's really an important process. What I found out a few weeks ago when the Tibetan monks were here was that this is a form of self-inquiry that goes back 800 years, which I didn't know. It's a Tibetan Buddhist form of inquiry that is called enlightened mind. That was fascinating to me. Enlightened mind in English. I don't know what it's called in Tibetan, but I was very delighted that this was an actual form of Buddhist self-inquiry, because it made total sense to me that Wu Lan would bring it forward to do healing work now at this time when we're going through the eye of the needle in terms of our own enlightenment and our own awakening. So the heart path process, the first part of the process is getting aligned with your stars. You've got one in your heart, you've got one up here, and you've got one down here. And I realize these are stars of David, and they're not associated, these are stars of the beloved, okay? So they're not associated with Judaism, just so you know that. It's just that I love the stars because they are easy to draw, and also because they are the heart of the beloved. That's what the star represents. So these stars, they're actual stars, and they can look they can look very different to you. They could look like that, or they could look like that. They're light. You have 3 of these centers, one in your head, one in your heart, and one in your pelvis. This one connects you to your spiritual awareness, to your third eye. This one connects you to your heart and to relationships. And this one connects you to your creativity in the earth. So these 3 soul stars, the 3 stars of the self, is what Star Woman has told me that they are a way for you to ground yourself. The more you get in touch with these 3 stars, the more easily you can get in touch with yourself and your center. So how many of you have ever felt a little scattered? I know, I get there frequently. So the scattered energy never helps you. It only keeps you scattered and keeps you more fragmented. But what does help you is getting connected with your 3 stars and centering yourself there so that you can come into yourself and ground yourself. So let's do that right now, just to see an experiment. The first part of the experiment is to notice where you are right now, emotionally, mentally. Just take a note, no criticism, just, oh, okay, this is how I feel right now, okay? So now we're going to do the meditation, and so what I'd like you to do is close your eyes, get your feet flat on the floor, and imagine the star above your head, because this is connected to your oversoul, to your higher self, to your divine self. And just allow that light that you are to come into the top of your head. Feel it filling your head and coming down into your throat and down into your heart. In your heart you have a 2nd star. Allow yourself to feel that. And feel it filling your chest up with light. And down, connected now into your pelvis, is the 3rd star, and all 3 of these stars are connected with a line of light or a tube of light that goes along your spine. And the 3rd star is right in your pelvis, in the center of your dantian. Just allow that center to glow in your pelvis. And allow it to connect with your root chakra, which comes right out of the base of your body and down each leg. And the 3 cords spiral like an umbilical cord being magnetically pulled all the way to the center of the earth. And reaching the center of the earth, draw that light up through your feet and your knees and your hips and into your heart. And take a couple deep breaths and just blow and clear a space away for yourself inside your heart with your breath. That's it. And now allow yourself to imagine that you're standing in the middle of your heart, in the center of your loving self. Okay, so that's the first part of the meditation, and what I'd like you to do is just take a couple deep breaths and come back slowly. And open your eyes when you feel like you can. And just notice how different you feel now than when you started this meditation. Just make a mental note. Do you feel any different? You might not. But then again, you might feel a little more centered. Okay, so now we're going to do the second part of the meditation. So just go back into your heart gardens. Now that you're standing in the middle of your heart and you're grounded into the earth. And now I'd like you to invite some aspects of yourself into the garden. At first, let's imagine that we see some kind of a fence or hedgerow or tree line all the way around the outside of the garden, and a gate that opens and closes in the front. This gives you a boundary in your heart, a place just for you. And now when you're ready, just invite in your inner child. That's it. And your animal nature, what's the part of you that's the wild self? Could be a four-legged or winged creature. Could be a creepy crawly. Just allow them to come in. They're all part of your power. They're all part of who you are. And next, invite in the being part of yourself, the part of you that's your inner feminine nature, or the being part of you that knows how to be with you. And next, invite in your masculine nature, or the part of you that knows how to do things. And now your higher self, your all-wise, all-knowing self. And just allow that energy to engulf you and fill your heart, the energy of your higher self. Now just notice for a moment inside your heart gardens how your inner family is getting along. Does your masculine know your feminine? Does your doing aspect know your being aspect? Is the being aspect present? Do they talk to each other? Do they sit around a fire and commune with one another? Or are they living very separate lives within you? Just notice. How is the child? Is he or she happy or sad? Is the child melancholy or playful? Just notice. And your higher self, can you stay in touch with your higher self? Can you feel it? In your animal nature, does it feel protective to have them there? Do you need to call in a four-legged predator that will be more protective for you? Be with your inner self. And now I'd like you to take a couple deep breaths and come back slowly into the room. And if you notice yourself falling asleep, come back into waking consciousness. That's it. So now I'd like to hear from you. So how was that for people? How did that experience, how was that experience for you? And this is a confidential room. But I'd like to hear how it was for you if you'd like to share. Did you have an experience of yourself? Did you have an experience of these archetypes? If you didn't, it's okay if you didn't. It's just that you're going to a deeper level of your self-awareness than you might have gone before. Yeah.
I saw deer and hummingbirds.
Oh, wonderful. Great. Yes.
I like the part where the doer and the beer communicate.
Yeah. Right. That's a very important part. You know, a lot of people have done a lot, but not a lot of people have done the parent work. How do you have a relationship with yourself? The doing and the being aspects are your masculine and feminine self. One of the shifts that we're making today in consciousness is instead of the masculine doing being dominant in our being, it's having to learn how to support the feminine presence. So the doing aspect is needing to come into alignment with the feminine presence, the being and the doing. Instead of dominating her, he needs to surrender and understand that she's got some wisdom that he needs to hear about, or she's going to kick up a ruckus, create a disease or an illness or something to get your attention. So the being part of you is now trying to emerge. If you're here on this planet at this time, especially in California, that's what's going on. And in order to give them the opportunity, we need time to reflect on the inside and be with the inside. Anyone else have something they wanted to share about that process? Yeah.
Different ways to reveal themselves.
Okay. That's
So
a
every time that I try to do that, I stay with that unconscious.
yes, yes. So we touched into like a very deep part of yourselves right now. So cut yourself some slack, because if you've never done this before, you will kind of nod into unconsciousness because you're going into a very deep part of yourself. Now I want to talk a little bit about these archetypes and why these are important. And this is primarily what Wulan and I have developed together, is that the brain is really composed of several parts. And it controls several parts of your body. Your back brain is your instinctual brain, your animal nature. The child is the right above, behind where the eyes see and back brain. The right and left hemisphere are the masculine and feminine aspects of the brain. And the inside, the corpus callosum, is the inside of the brain. That's that amazing organ that communicates with both sides. And that's where your pituitary and pineal glands are, which sit at the very heart of that gland, or right underneath it. And they actually connect to your third eye and your crown chakra. So your endocrine system is the vehicle, physical vehicle through which your chakras are connected to your body. Your light body is connected to your physical body. This is what we understand in energy healing and energy medicine. This isn't very well known, so you probably never heard this before. And if you have, great. So our chakra system, our energy system, on every level of our being is connected to another gland that helps us bring energy into our bodies and helps us function. Our heart is palpitating, and your heart chakra is bringing the energy into your heart. And through the back as well, your will and your emotions. So these aspects of yourself that we just brought in are actually bringing home all the parts of yourself, from the most primitive part of you, which is your instinctual nature. And we say it's primitive, but it's also directly connected to the natural animal instincts. Your fight and flight syndrome is connected to this animal nature. And the variety of animal nature that you might have inside of your heart garden tells you a lot about yourself. If you were butterflies and aerial birds, your major defense mechanism is flight. Okay? If you were a cat coming in stalking, or coming in protecting, then your major defense would be to hide until you can attack. If you are a giraffe or an elephant, those are big energies of huge animals that have a great presence. And one runs and the other attacks. Will attack. Elephants aren't afraid of anything. There's not much that can take down an elephant. So there may be less fear-based and more anger-based in that animal nature. So this is how the heart path process can help you understand and love yourself. Because the more you get to know these archetypes, the more you get to know who you are. And these are not really archetypes in the traditional sense. An archetype in the traditional sense is something that we imagine ourselves to be. Like a king or a magician or warrior. There are deep parts of ourselves that we understand ourselves to be symbolically. These are not symbols. These are actual parts of your brain and your body. So when you're meeting yourself in the heart garden in this way, you're actually meeting who you are. Okay? So it's good just to observe it. There's no judgment here. If you found yourself judging what you saw, then the critic needs to come to the front of the heart garden so you can talk to the critic and say, hey, that doesn't help me. Okay? So this is the first part of the meditation, and what we've learned in subsequent years working with this is that we can bring all kinds of things to the outside of the heart garden. You can bring your past lives, you can bring your spirit guides, your angels, you can bring broken parts of yourself. This is how I do shamanism with people. It's very different than what the Harner method and other methods where they actually go and get those parts for you and bring them back to you. No, that's not how I work. And the reason I don't is because I feel you need to be empowered to do that for yourself. Now, why do I feel that? It's part of the teaching that I've gotten from my guides, that's part of our work, is to bring this awareness of your own power to heal yourselves to you. Now, I've got all kinds of ways that I can do energy work. I know how to repair chakras. I can redo energy systems. If you've had surgery, I can help rebuild a part of your energy system if you need to. It goes beyond, just bringing energy through, which is very important, but what I can do for people goes beyond that. However, the most amazing healing I witness is when people embrace and can be present with themselves. If you can be present with yourself, that's calming down, relaxing, meditating, and being with yourself. You can heal anything, I believe. Absolutely. I see it all the time. And healing is one of those elusive things where, we don't know what's getting healed, but there is a transformation. We don't know how extensive that might be. We don't know if it'll reach into the physical or not, but we know that it's reaching the spiritual because we're witnessing it, we're feeling it, we're paying attention to it. The other thing about the heart path process and the way you can love yourself through this process is that it gives you an opportunity to embrace who you are. Okay? How many of you have a part of you that you really don't like? Yeah, I have that part. Okay? Mine looks like about 17 or 18 and wears a leather jacket and chains and is defiant with everybody. Okay? That's the part I really have to hold in my heart. Okay? That's why I've probably worked with teens, worked with youth a lot, and especially kids that are on that line of going off the track. Those are the kids I just love. And the reason I love them is because I've had to love that part of me. I never acted that out in my life, but she's there. I can tell you that. So sometimes we just don't like those parts. So what do we do with them? We can push them away, stuff them down in our subconscious, which is what most people do. It's like you get a glimpse of something in a relationship and go, "Ooh, I didn't like that part. I'm going to run from that as fast as I can." And then what we learn is that if we bring that aspect to the garden, say, wait a minute, what was that? That was a part of me, whoa, it was really fleeting. I'm going to bring it back and be with it in front of my heart and sit with it. What happens if you sit with it and then send it love is the energy starts to relax and it starts to tell you a truth about yourself, something you're not looking at, something that maybe you need to, something that might save your life. So that's the part that you need to hold in loving reverence. Especially the angry ones. Because the angry one is saying, you're not doing it right. There's something not right. You're not lined up with yourself. You need to line up with yourself differently. And what they're talking about is your vertical alignment. Something is out of whack. In energy healing, when I see stuff in people's field, it shows up like little black flecks, or it can look like a part that's cut, or it can I'm looking at their energy flow and how they're lined up, okay? I'm looking at their field and how their field is expansive or contractive. And none of that's to judge, but just to look at it, to observe how they actually are, what's going on in their field. So when you read an energy in a person's field, what I'm looking at is what's blocking. You know, is this whole part blocked off here? Sometimes I'll have somebody come into my office here or over in Santa Cruz, and they'll be like just total black in their lower chakras, in their root chakra. It's like, whoa. They don't like themselves very well. They want to get off the planet. And so what I do generally is I'll bring that to their attention. It's like your root chakra is looking kind of dark. It's kind of black. Do you have a death wish? Are you really wanting to be here? What's going on here? And what I often do is I guide them into the heart garden and then have them bring that energy out to the front so they can look at it, so they can witness it themselves. And when they do that, what happens is amazing. It transforms. The energy starts to transform the minute they get aligned. The energy will change. It'll start lightening. It'll start shifting. It'll have a completely different look. And this happens every time. Almost every time I've ever worked with someone with this kind of a configuration, which means they don't want to be here. When I get them lined up and grounded, this shifts, it changes. It changes immediately. If they have an area in their heart that's shadowed on the right or the left, this is the dividing line between the masculine and the feminine side, the left brain and the right brain. The left brain controls the right side of the body, and the right brain controls the left side of the body. The masculine or the feminine side. So if there's a shadow there, then I know there's a part of the unconscious that needs to become awake, and that may be what they're coming in for, is to wake that up. Now, the issues they present might not have anything to do with that, or it might be a relationship issue. You know, I can't talk to my sister. She's not talking to me. Well, maybe it's you that you're not talking to, your feminine side. And as we look at it and hold it in the light, we just hold it. They hold it. And as I hold them, and they hold themselves, and the transformations start to go like this. It's really exciting. It's very exciting work. So, do we have any questions? Let's pause for a minute. Yeah.
If you have pain in certain parts of your body, how does that relate to it?
Pain is a great signaler. It teaches us that there's something that's out of balance. Okay? So I'll give you an example of myself right now. I'm in the process of moving, and I'm not moving yet because I haven't found a place that's reasonable in the Bay Area. That's kind of an oxymoron. And so I've had some lower back pain. Now, in my history, I know that whenever I'm in transition, my back often goes out, my lower back. And so I've been very guarded. I've been very careful with myself. And I've been sitting, talking to myself about it. So what's going on, you know? Oh, you're rooting. You're rerouting. You're trying to reroute. You're trying to uproot out of here, but you don't have the place yet, so you can't really root to the new place. So just root in yourself. Just be rooted in yourself. So I'm working with a friend, and we're working on it. And so that's my issue right now, is my lower back. Okay. I've also been writing a lot. I've been working on a new book. I've got about 3 that are going. And if I sit too long, it really wreaks havoc on my back. So that's the other thing that's going on. So I have to get up, move around, walk. But then I'm also aware that this is a recurring issue, okay? And I've cleared as much as I can out of it. And there it is, my lower back. There it is again. It's teaching me that, well, you're just in transition. Now, sometimes you can have a pain, a random pain in your body. And it can be like in your stomach. Usually there's a cording issue with someone else corded into your stomach. What happens in relationships a lot, unhealthy relationships, and even most any relationship, is that we cord with other people. So if this is a person A and this is person B, and you love each other, you send each other a cord, okay, back and forth. And say you really are good at communicating with another, and so then you send a cord, throw a cord, and oh, you've got a psychic connection going. Oh, it's great. And then you really have the power issues are really, like you're really aligned in your power, and oh, the sex is incredible. And then you really have the whole same ideas. Okay, this is called soul mating. Your whole ideas of your grounding is the same. Like you want the same things. It's really exciting. This very rarely happens, by the way. Most relationships, you might not have this, okay? You might not have the good communication, or it might be kind of jagged, and the sex, well, it's all right, but in the power, oh, you've got struggles going on, okay? And you're banging on each other. And then maybe you have the same idea about home and family, the rooting. Or maybe you have the same family patterns. Your mother was an alcoholic, his dad was an alcoholic. Oh, it's a perfect match. It's a marriage made in heaven. We have the same issues. We're gonna work these out together. So when you do have these connections with people, we tend to send cords, and what these cords really are attachments. They're not really love. Love is, in my mind, is defined as more of something that you are willing to, you love them so much you want them to do whatever they need to do. And if that means leaving you, then God bless them, let them go. You might want them to be here, and you might even express that, but you're not holding on to them. You want them to do what they need to do. That's love. That's unconditional love. You love all the aspects of them, even the ones that they don't like themselves. You love them anyway. You don't care. So that's love, okay? What we are in our minds, in human minds, most of us think of attachment as love because of our infancy. When you're attached to your mother as a child, it's very important that you're attached to her, or you won't survive. As a child, it's very important that you have attachment, or you won't survive. But if you're an adult, these attachments become cumbersome, and they don't necessarily help your relating. Because what they are really, I like to call this the hook and eye arrangement. So somebody has the I, which is the I, the ego I, saying, I have something you don't have. And the other one is saying, I'm hooking in because I know I don't have what you have. And beside, I really like to hook in because that's your issue. I'm going to rattle that issue until you let go of it. And when you let go of the issue, when you let go of your I, then the hook cannot penetrate, cannot hook into you. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Yeah. So in relationship, if we take a look at the courting often happens in the power chakra, in the heart chakra, and the throat chakra. Those are the main ones. And sometimes there's other ones. The sex chakra, the second chakra is a sexual chakra. It's also your creativity. It's also your money. It has a lot of different connections there. But what you want to try to achieve is letting go of those attachments so that you can be with the love. Attachments prevent a certain vulnerability in relationship. Now, you've got to be attached to your kids until they're ready to be grown. And you can be committed in a relationship without attachment. You can be committed to each other. And you don't have to have attachment. Commitment is a statement of love and containment within your relationship. So that's a good thing. Okay, commitments are good. And it's not that attachments are bad, it's just that we need to recognize them for what they are. They're attachments, they're not love. So a lot of times when you're breaking up with somebody, what's the hardest thing about letting go? We're letting go. When we let go of somebody, we're really letting go of our financial situation. We're having to let go of having a partner that we can make love to. We're letting go of a power dynamic. We're letting go of having somebody there that we can talk to. Those are a lot of things that are good things that we can get attached to. But what we don't want to do is hold them back or hold ourselves back. And sometimes relationships can get so strangled with the attachments that we don't really have the freedom to love each other and to let go. So the heart path process can really show you those attachments and help you let go of them. So let's do an exercise right now that will help you notice your attachments to your relationships, okay? So what I'd like you to do is go back into the heart garden, and you're all pretty grounded already. And so just imagine yourself, just breathe a couple times and go back into your heart garden with your animal nature and your child and your feminine, masculine, and your higher self. They're all in there. And if you can't see any of those or perceive any of them, just know that you're there, you as you are today. And now what I'd like you to imagine is that sitting there in your center, that you have a plane, like a square plane, that's maybe 2 feet by 2 feet. And it's going to start at the top of your head, and it's a scanner. And the scanner is going to go down through your body, and you're just going to notice when you have an attachment in your, first it's going to go really slow. So the first is your crown, then your third eye. Just notice the attachment and notice who it's to. That's it, just notice. If you want to unhook it, you can unhook it. And then you might notice like a little, the I part of it. What's the I part of it? Or maybe it's a cord going from you to them.